test of faith. You feel me? He gonna take you through these tests. You feel me? You gonna go through these little phases in life, yo. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you just gotta recognize that one, it's the adversary trying to knock you off your pivot, and then it's God trying to teach you something. You feel me? Right. Anything that you go through, you gonna get through. It's called going through. You feel me? That's why it's called going through. You going through something. Right. You feel me? Because after you go through it, you get through it. You look back on it like, damn, I got that. You feel what I'm saying?
For this and more, be sure to tune into BeExposedRadio.com every Friday from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock p.m. to listen to more of It Is What It Is radio show.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show.
I'm just thankful this year I've dealt with, you know, some growing pains, and I've overcome some things, and I've also, you know, accomplished some things in the process. I've learned some things. Like, yes. I learned that everybody loves your work until they gotta pay for it. That's what that's what I learned. I learned everybody loves what you do.
To pay?
I mean,
not always.
Listen, the Bible says money answereth all things.
Well,
okay, and there is a place. There is a place where finances is necessary. And when you got kids, and when you got a wife, and then you doing everything, and you know you top dog at what you do, especially when you weren't in the same place you, like with this radio show, you ain't in the same place you were a year ago. Should nobody be coming on the show and not donating to your show?
Can you say that on my show?
Should nobody be coming to your show?
Can you say that in the middle of the live?
Yeah, make that a promo, please.
Should nobody come on this show without donating?
That is a nice commercial.
I don't care if it's $20.
Donate.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
Free stuff.
Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Artist Exchange Live.
The Artist Exchange. The Artist Exchange.
The Artist Exchange.
Welcome to the Artist Exchange Radio Show, live on BeExposedRadio.com. It's me, your host, Nate Couser. I am here trying to be refreshed, and I'm sorry, that's my ghetto phone. So I am here today on this July the 7th, chilling, relaxing. A few shout outs. First of all, I would like to say a happy birthday to my great grandmother. She would have been 114 this past Wednesday. So big shout out to her. One of my biggest supporters and the love of my life, my grandmother, Miss Marie Wilson. Second, I am very happy to be a part of the Maya Baraka Writing Institute, put on by Do More Baltimore. It's a phenomenal institute that gives opportunities to young people to get out there and do what it is that they do, and learn and grow and just really be artists. We're showing 60 students this summer how to be a professional artist. We have a hip-hop class which is taught by none other than Black Chakra, Mr. Jacob Chambers himself. We have a poetry writing class done by Mr. Slangston Hughes. We have a production class that teaches them how to put on events, promote, market, all of those awesome things that it takes to curate art. Performance art, and that's done by Lady Breon, and I am the acting instructor for the Maya Baraka Writing Institute. It's a very phenomenal program that really gives intensive training in the area of writing, performance, and production. So definitely look them up, Do More Baltimore, Maya Baraka Writing Institute, and see if your child could be a part of it. I know they have several different programs throughout the school year in terms of hip-hop and writing and poetry, so definitely look them up, and if they're not already at your child's school, definitely hit them up, and you can help facilitate bringing them to your child's school. Shout out to them. Last night, Do More Baltimore, Art Rising, packed event. It was so many people in there, and I came a little bit late, but it was still people wall to wall down at the Downtown Cultural Arts Center. So definitely was a place to be. They every month look up Art Rising on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and get their next dates, times, all that information. Next and not last, I need everybody to definitely go to our Artist Exchange Radio Show page, like us, share us, invite people. We are here. We are ready. We're looking for you. So come join us. Every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. So definitely come on. If you're looking to be featured on the show, hit me up at the Artist Exchange Radio Show at gmail.com, or you can hit us up at the Be Exposed Radio Station's email box at info@beexposedradio.com. Definitely stay tuned, stay locked in. Another shout out to Kyle Jackson. He's over in London right now. At the Oxford Cambridge Writing Institute. He's doing a month-long writing intensive program over there. So he just landed there. So I'm very happy for Kyle. I'm very happy for his success and all that he continues to do as a writer and actor and just a creative black man. So definitely send your prayers out him, because we want him to get back. He got over there safely. We want him to be safe this month, and we want him to get back here safely and sound, and all in one piece. So definitely keep your prayers going for Kyle and all of my interesting urbanites from the Coppin State University. We're doing great things, phenomenal program, and I'm just a mere morsel of it. Shout out to my friend and colleague, Miss Roslyn Cawthon. She came in and helped my young ladies today create work, create art, do what it is that they do. And it definitely keeps them on their toes. So shout out to her. Shout out to Miss Kara Smoot for coming in and being a photographer for my class today. Shout out to my engineer that continues to be his great self. The team here is definitely phenomenal. I don't know where Damonn is. I have no clue. He was supposed to be here so we can tell you all about our weekend over the holiday weekend. We got to be guests at the Life Jennings concert. Shout out to Mr. Dumarasi, phenomenal performer, guitar player. He's actually the guitar player for Life Jennings, and he invited us as his guests to come out and join him in this awesome concert. We got to go down to Virginia, Alexander, Virginia, at the Birchmere Hall, and have a phenomenal concert. We got a little road trip in, myself and Damonn and one of Damonn's friends. It was a great ride. So shout out to Dumarasi and Ms. Richburg for definitely keeping us in mind and being able to allow us to come down and join you guys. It was an awesome concert. I'm a big fan of Life Jennings. If you're not a fan of Life Jennings, I don't know what you've been doing with your life. His music is definitely centered around the life of a black man and the trials and tribulations and the roadblocks and all the hurdles and all the things that could possibly happen to us. And he's so positive. All the stuff that has happened to this man in his life, he still remains very positive, very focused, very driven. And his music speaks for his experience and his life and who he is. I had a phenomenal time. We got to sit right at the stage. So he's a great performer. His voice is what it is. It's still as great as it was when he first came out. It's so honest and raw. I enjoyed myself. So Damonn, wherever you at, get over here, check us out, let people know how it was. If you want to call into the show, say hello to me, definitely pick up the phone, 410-702-5657, or you can text us at 443-642-9403. I prefer if you call. Give me a call. I like to hear your voice. We have a guest today. We have in the building Dr. Nancy Proctor. I met her after one of the performances of King of Howard Street. a play that I was just in. I got to meet her and talk to her and her husband briefly after one of the shows. I believe that was the last show. I want to say that was the last show that we did. So she came out to that, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And she's the director of the Peel Museum right down the street here across from City Hall. So really historical place, a lot of history, a lot of rich culture, and she's a curator. She's an artist in her own right, and we're going to learn a little bit more about her. She'll be here shortly, so definitely look out for that. Tomorrow's show is action-packed. We have 2 shows planned for you. From 12 to 1, we'll have TJ Transvision Bates. He'll be joining us tomorrow. He is a new dad. He has twins now. So he'll be joining us tomorrow. And he has 3 artists that will be joining him as well. So I'll shout out those names a little bit later on. And then the second part of tomorrow's show, from 1 to 2, we'll have Baltimore's own Miss Sharon Nixon of Baltimore Fashion Week. And we'll also have Mr. Tamil Robinson. He's a phenomenal designer coming all the way down here from New York to just join us on my little old show, the Artist Exchange radio show. So definitely stay locked in. Come back tomorrow. Tomorrow is an action-packed day. So definitely stay tuned. Stay locked in for that. I can't wait. I'm very excited. Tomorrow's going to be an awesome show. A double header. Tonight we're going to have an awesome conversation with Miss Proctor and learn a little bit more about what's going on in the community. But before I go any further, I have a couple stories, some news updates, some art entertainment news for you all. But before I go there, I'm going to add 2 things. One, I feel like we're failing our children in a way that we are not preparing them for what life is. We're not equipping them with the tools and the attitude necessary to take criticism. They don't know how to face conflict. They don't know how to do basic things let alone balance a checkbook, how to be professional. All those things are necessary. But basic ideals in life about how to deal with conflict. You can't jump to, anger because it doesn't solve anything. I have some students, and not even putting it out there, but I had some issues with a couple of my students this week where she did not know how to deal with constructive criticism. As the director or the instructor, which is one and the same thing when you're teaching performance, you're teaching them to be better. Grading art is hard. You can't say art is good, art is bad, or put it on a scale. You're grading students on their level of being able to regurgitate with proficiency the technique that you show them, the perspective that you show them. That's how you grade art, whether it be visual or performance art. You grading it on how well they grasp the concept of the technique that you showed them. So I had a couple students who did not understand that. They didn't understand that how they were being graded. So my constructive criticism, my critiques of their performance wasn't taken well. And I'm not a person that I don't sugarcoat things, and I'm not going to beat you over the head with honesty, but I'm going to be very honest with you, because when you go out into the world, they're not going to give you a dose of juice with your medicine. It's going to be bitter, and it's going to be much harsher. And you have to be prepared for that. And we have to prepare our children to be in classroom settings where they're learning. We have to prepare our children to be professionals, because at some point they're going to have a job. We have to prepare them for that. And I've worked in too many different programs where youth workers were, and if you don't understand, here in Baltimore, we have a program called Youth Works, where they find job opportunities for teenagers and young people from 14 to 21 every summer. And this summer for me is much better than all the other programs that I've been a part of with doing Youth Works. But nevertheless, parents still do the same thing. You sign your child up for youth works, but yet you plan a family vacation in the middle of their youth works experience because it benefits your time schedule. But you're not looking at the professionalism that you're not giving to them by allowing them to take off for a week or not come back for the second half or just leave a week early. It's still a workplace environment, and they have to do what it is that they're supposed to do. Like, it goes without saying. It really does. And you have to prepare your child on how they get paid. You don't get paid for work that you didn't do. You know, if you didn't get to your workplace site until Friday and these people started Monday, you don't get paid for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday because somebody messed up. You don't get paid for those things because you were not there. You know, basic things that you would think people would come to you with, but young people don't know everything. And we try to tell them that, but you know, they don't know. They don't have the experience. They've seen a lot more than we may have seen or the generation behind them have seen, but they still don't have the experience or most times the vocabulary to be able to express themselves professionally. And I think that's something that needs to start home. They shouldn't be learning professionalism in a classroom because by that time they've already built up bad habits. So I say all this to really say to you, definitely begin to train your children in the way that they should go. You know, and it's common sense things that you think, oh, they gonna know that. No, they don't. They don't know how to take criticism. You know, and you give somebody criticism and they take it the wrong way because they haven't been trained to be able to listen to the words that people say. They're so attached to emotion. Children are more attracted to the emotion or the feelings that a person is giving off than they are to listening to the words that they're actually saying because they haven't been trained to do that. So if you look like you have an attitude, they're going to take it as an attitude. You know, and I just see a lot of this miscommunication because children aren't learned how to effectively communicate their feelings, their emotions, what they see, what they are taking in. Their environment. They feel everything. Everything is about a feeling to somebody that's a teenager. And it's a impulsive reaction to everything. And we have to learn how to react in a professional way. Everything don't need to be said. You know, some things need to stop at a thought. You know, before it even gets to a thought, most times it needs to be eliminated from your psyche because then that builds up and that creates hostility and miscommunication and all those things. So definitely have those talks with your young people before you send them out into the school system, before you send them out into a workplace environment, all that. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show only on BigExposedRadio.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Check out this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live on BeExposedRadio.com. In the building, we have live Mr. Michael Ryder. There we go. And Mr. Steve Yarn. They're doing a partnership based on what was it again? The stories of the Vulcan Blazers. An awesome production that they have coming up. And now the name of it will be called Baltimore Heat. There we go. They were telling us a little bit about, they're in the pre-production phase of developing this Baltimore-based production. It seems like a really awesome idea. I always love for more artistic events to come here, and because it's more of an event because you guys are going to actually use Baltimore as your complete backdrop of the city, and that's very awesome to hear.
Yeah, we want people to fall in love with this project through the visions and the tales we're going to tell about these firefighters, but also we want them to fall in love with the city of Baltimore. Just like they did with Miami Vice and Chicago Fire and NYPD Blue and
Sex in the City
and all these other places that have the city as a star as much as the artists and the actors are.
And that's Baltimore has for many years have been the backdrops of many movies. I could think of a few Whoopi Goldberg movies, Sleepless in Seattle. A lot of these movies that have always used Baltimore as a scene. Not to mention The Wire and Homicide, and countless other movies, House of Cards. All these movies and television shows have always used it, but it was never really about Baltimore. They always included Baltimore in the story, or the backdrops, or certain historical scenery,
things they absolutely needed to say.
And House of Cards actually shoots in Baltimore. But they're saying that it's Washington, D.C.
Right.
Yeah. So they're shooting here and not even giving us credit for the place over here.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com.
Man, it is what it is. Man, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is.
This Fly T Miles, also known as Tyree Miles, and Mr. Miles the writer.
Hip Hop K, check us out every Friday on Be Exposed Radio at 9/11.
Coming to y'all soon.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Last time on Talk Lately.
He don't have Down syndrome.
Man killed after being shot in Charm City Circulator. That's Derek. It says a 26-year-old man was killed after being shot on the Charm Circulator bus Wednesday afternoon. Police... Oh, that was last Wednesday. Okay, good. It wasn't Derek.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Oh, yeah.
Street.
Right.
But I'm working with the Peel Center for Baltimore History and Architecture as its new director. And
how was that?
It's going great.
It's a big project.
It's a huge project, but we're getting a lot of really good support. And really what we want to be is a platform and a home for the cultural stories of the city.
Now, how difficult? Because my church. Ebenezer AME is a historic building, and we just recently got a grant to fix the facade and the roof, but you still have to do certain things. They don't let you just fix things because there's a leak in the roof. You have to do it the same way.
A certain way.
So how is that?
Yeah, that's very much part of the project at the Peel. Is we've got to
even if you get the money, you still have to follow the rules.
And I'm just thinking, Ebenezer. How do you spell it? Ebenezer.
Hold a minute. Ebenezer. Ebenezer. I think I spelled that right. Ebenezer AME. It's right down off of. It's right when you first get into Federal Hill.
Because I feel like we've through the Be Here Baltimore project, which is what the MuseWeb Foundation launched in Baltimore last summer. I feel like we have a tour that somebody did a story about the Ebenezer AME, and I'm just trying to find it.
I want to say, because my pastor just left there, so of course we went with the pastor, but it really, I saw everything that they were putting them through. So it was one thing to just raise the money and get a grant. So we got a grant and they raised some funds within the church. But it was still so many different things that they had to jump through.
That's right.
Approvals just to get the roof fixed, which was leaking into the it was damaged. But even the facade of the church, it took them months. And I think they're still working on the facade right now because it just didn't, like the paper, you got to put approval in, and it's not just a contract that's saying I'm gonna do this.
No, and we're having to do things like send off paint and plaster samples for analysis to make sure that when we do the restoration, we're using the right plaster.
And I know Hodges, Deanna was telling me it was more of electrical issues in there, and like just more so rewiring.
Everything needs to be redone, and most
because it's still original.
Yeah, it needs to be preserved. So we're shoring up the outside of the building now to stop it leaking, so that it doesn't keep getting worse. But once we start the interior renovation, one of the big parts of that project is making the building accessible. Because at the moment, if you can't do stairs, you're really stuck. And we need to improve the bathrooms and things like that. So, but
this major thing, so it's accessible, like you said, but safe at the same time.
Exactly.
I love the set. We performed there, Woundworks. I'm a part of that group. So when they did programming last year, we did like the upstairs. I think they was doing like a month long. When they heard that first art exhibit you had in there, it was a nice space. It was a nice little auditorium type of performance space. But I know she was saying the floors above the first floor, they're not really ready for the public right now. But it's a nice space.
And we're still using it. So we've had a couple of exhibitions in there in the past couple of years. You might have seen Abigail DeVille's show.
Yeah, that's the one,
yeah. And then Submersive Productions had a wonderful immersive theater piece in there earlier this year, which is going to come back in November. So the building's still usable, even though it's not restored and it's not fully accessible yet. So we intend to continue using it as long as we can through the restoration. And in fact, we're really keen to hear from groups, creative groups around Baltimore who are looking for a space for performances or shows or rehearsals.
It lends itself. It's not like a big, it's not a huge space, but it's a nice, intimate space for art exhibits, for showcasing. It's a nice space for. I love Abigail DeVille's. That was her name. I love that. That was amazing. It really was.
Both Be More Art and City Paper awarded it Best Exhibition of 2016.
It was phenomenal. The first
show,
room with the decayed flag in it was. Like I got to talk to her briefly, and it really, like, where did that come from?
Well, that room actually, if I'm not mistaken, was referencing the colored school, which was housed at the Peel back in the late 19th century. It was the home of the very first public high school for people of color in the state. And that's another really important project. We want to learn more about that history, so we're reaching out to scholars and others who know about the history of education in this state, and particularly the education of people of color in Baltimore, so that we can kind of flesh out our knowledge of that part of the history and develop some programming and exhibitions and kind of restore that part of Baltimore's history.
It's kind of ironic that they actually are now using it as an art space, being as though it has so much history. I would think that, because I know that the city held on to that space for so long because they really couldn't afford to rehab it. But I'm glad that they lended it to being an art space, because artists definitely know how to.
And I have to say, the city's been a great partner for us. So they they've put a lot of money into actually stabilizing the exterior of the building and helping us out with certain key things like the HVAC system, and also with programming. So but these are tough economic times, and so everybody needs to pitch in and. So it's a project that's being moved forward by a lot of really good people and organizations.
So the voice that you're hearing is of Miss Nancy Proctor. Did I say it right? I was practicing.
You did.
Okay, I was practicing.
You'll tell me when we're live, right?
Yeah, we're about to go to a commercial break right now.
Okay.
So we'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BeExposedRadio.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Talk Lately is back on May 17th at 7 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com. Oh, okay, yeah. Also on YouTube. I know the rate is killing. Why would you see me recording? Oh my God. You a hard-headed asshole. Yo.
He's dead.
Oh, 6 years after he passed away.
It states she reportedly had heard rumors, but nothing substantial. But then you put the rumors to
while
death.
They were still married.
You sentenced the rumors to death.
While they still were married, she heard rumors.
Right. Or probably all her life she's heard rumors. Like you're dating, you know you're dating your dad, right? I look just alike. I'm like, girl, somebody told me you dating your father. You know, that's what kind of him. You know he gay, right, Percy?
Please, why are you laughing at him? Don't laugh at him. Please don't.
Okay, let me continue with the story.
Oh,
man. Even today, it's still funny. Oh my gosh, if you haven't heard this show, it's Talk Lately, and it's only on BeExposedRadio.com every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and on YouTube. Just go to
Hey, there's my son. You've been in your room all morning.
Hey, Dad.
Matt, what's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Oh, well, it's just sort of.
I have been playing my video games and electronic games for so many hours.
Uh-huh. Well, it sounds like it might be time for you to take a break, or...
Hello, Dad.
Susan?
I have been watching TV and text messaging all morning. Yay, electronics. Yay, yay, yay.
Guys, I think it's about time to get in the car and take a little trip. Maybe see some trees, some green things.
What are these green things you speak of?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Get out to the forest and discover the wonders of nature with your family, just like Blue, Jewel, and the whole Rio flock.
Let the kids connect to their roots. It's going to be so much fun. Yeah! Woo-hoo!
Let's rock this jungle.
Woo!
Fresh air.
What a glorious morning.
Clean water.
Woohoo! This is great.
And endless surprises.
Yo, this is untapped territory.
How amazing.
Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
So when you get to the corner of Smith and Orchard... You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, welcome back. This is Nate, host of the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only here on BeExposedRadio.com. Joining us is my co-host, Mr. Damonn Hullywood Hulll. And our guest for today is Miss Nancy Proctor. Is it Dr. Nancy Proctor?
Well, you can call me Dr. Proctor if I'm mad at you, but since we're getting along real well, Nathan, you can just call me Nancy.
Okay. She is the first director of the Peel Museum, the historic Peel Museum, and that's on Holiday Street.
That's right.
Right across from the City Hall, and it has a number of firsts. The first City Hall, the original site of the first City Hall in Baltimore City, the first gas-lit building in the city, the first black high school in the city. What else? The first museum in the city?
The very first museum ever purpose-built in this country.
Right. Okay.
So Rembrandt Peale came from a family of artists. His dad had founded the first art academy and museum in Philadelphia. And he actually told his son he was crazy to come down to Baltimore and build his own building. Said, you'll lose your shirt on that. But, you know, Mr. Peale was an entrepreneur as well as an artist. The whole family were very accomplished artists. And he managed to raise the money to build that building. And it's a really interesting building because it's basically a federal-style row house, but with a gallery added on. So it's got a beautiful room with the natural light. And it's just a gorgeous old historic building and a place, as you say, of so many firsts, a really important one to preserve. So that's what we're trying to do, but also make it relevant to today, to Baltimore today. And
for its original purpose as a museum.
Yes, but a museum of the 21st century.
Right.
So what we're really interested in doing is helping all the stories and all the storytellers of Baltimore be heard. So really helping Baltimore be known for new narratives and kind of the full range and diversity of the stories of the city, which is also so rich in history and creativity and innovation. You know, Rembrandt Peale is just one in a long line of innovators and entrepreneurs that have come out of the city. So what we want to do is help the storytellers of Baltimore record their stories and produce them and make them heard around the world. Be that through audio, radio like this, documentary film, feature films, transmedia, augmented reality, virtual reality, whatever the tools are of today, just as Rembrandt Peale in his day, you know, was using the new technology of his day, which was gaslight.
Is it still open right now for tours, or?
Yeah, actually, it's, even though we're under renovation right now, we're still open for exhibitions and performances and special events. And in fact, I invite anybody, any of your listeners who are looking for a space for their events, for their performances, for their rehearsals, to contact us at thepeelecenter.org is our website. You can find our contact info there. Because again, we really want to help the creativity and the stories of the city be heard. But we will be going into an interior renovation plan hopefully early next year, and then that way we'll be able to be more accessible, because at the moment the building, you know, needs a lot of modernization, including adding an elevator and things like that.
What's the process of being as though it's a historical building, is listed as a historical building, and we know that comes with a lot of red tape? What is the steps that you are taking now? Where are you in the process?
Well, it's actually been a very long process that preceded me by many years. So a really hardworking and dedicated group of people who came together as the Friends of the Peale Center started raising money. They came up with the funds to commission plans for the renovation of the building from SM&P Architects, led by Walter Smoot, who's also on the board of directors of the Peale, really renowned architect. And so we have these beautiful plans, and we've been able to start, as I said, working on the exterior renovation, really thanks largely to our partnership with the City of Baltimore. They actually own the building, and the Department of General Services has contributed enormously, both in funds and in kind, to really making sure that the building doesn't continue to deteriorate, but also helping us out with programming, making sure that it's useful to people in Baltimore even while it's undergoing restoration.
So balancing what historical elements it has with what you want to showcase, and that's a gambit of artists and different installations. How will you maintain the historical elements of it, like the first black African American school and the first gaslit? How are you preserving those exhibitions, or will they be a routine, or will they
great question. Well, this is where I think the ability to use new technologies is really helpful, because you know the building. I mean, it's a nice size, but it's not huge, and there's a lot of history and a lot of stories to be told about Baltimore. But I think this is where, both through thinking of ourselves as not just a building and a destination, but as maybe a node and a network that includes digital platforms, it includes websites, it includes events and exhibitions around the city and beyond, we can actually extend our reach and have more space for showcasing those stories. But I can imagine, for example, in collaboration, say, with some of the really innovative VR and AR companies that are coming out of Baltimore, to have augmented reality and virtual reality installations. So you can go into a room and say, okay, I want to see this the way it was in the colored school today, or I want to see this the way it was in the early 19th century, or whatever. There are lots of your imagination can just go on and on.
I mean, as when I went to go visit it, it really, to know all that stuff happened right there, it was amazing to know just the innovation and just the evolution of that space. It's been so many different things, you know, and it was shut down for so long because it had not been tended to or nurtured for many years. But now to see that it's alive again, and the space is, it's a small, intimate space, like one of those mini Baltimore-style mansions, but it really is full of possibilities of rooms, and I could just see so many different art exhibitions happening there.
Yeah.
Where is your mind as a curator? When you first saw the space, where did your mind go?
It's really, as you were saying, kind of the richness of the stories. So one of the things I'm really keen on right now is precisely excavating that history of the building as the colored school. That's a period of the history where we know very little, and yet we know it was really important to the history of education in the city and in the state, and really kind of the underlying fabric of the city. So in September, we're going to be having programming, talks, roundtables, precisely to connect the history of the Peel as the colored school to the contemporary situation in Baltimore public schools. We like to work in a kind of a co-creation way. So inviting and collaborating with people in the community who, say, already have initiatives around schools or around education in Baltimore, and helping them achieve their programming by both providing a physical platform and other kinds of support. Another really important element that we envisage for when we reopen is that we'll host a media makerspace. So if you're a storyteller, or if you're an artist or another creator or culture keeper, and you've got creative content or stories you want to get out there, we'd like to be able to put at your disposal the expertise and the tools to do that, to get it out there in whatever format you want.
So this, as a curator, your mind is just, because you do this for a living, and it's not your first time doing it, but just having that space with so much possibility in it, how are you making it more interactive?
Well, I'd say first of all by starting not just in thinking about it as a building, but thinking about it as part of a network. And really making sure that... Is that connected
with other museums in the city?
But not just museums. So, for example, we are now the home of the Be Here Baltimore program. So this is a cultural storytelling project that was piloted here in Baltimore last summer and has grown since then to include over 500 stories of the city that are geolocated on digital platforms. And so what we do is look for storytellers or curators. For example, we're in conversations with Audra Buck-Coleman, professor from University of Maryland. She worked with students in Baltimore to create the Be More Than the Story exhibition that was at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum last year. It was about really the students' reaction to police brutality in Baltimore and kind of the media and the response to the uprisings. And I really like her way of working and think it's a model that we'd really like to continue, where actually the storytelling and the curation came from those students. The exhibition was about their perspective, and similarly I'd like to see the Peel be a facilitator for these storytellers, for these other artists and curators to make their voices heard and their perspectives known.
That is what I see Baltimore growing into, these incubated little spots in town that are just allowing people to be able to be their creative self without the restraints and rules of what technically what a museum was supposed to be. For art to be up on the wall and you to pass through and then never
it's the
come
difference
back.
Between a grassroots up process versus a top-down.
Right.
And, you know, again, this is such a creative city and such an innovative city. I know that there are going to be better ideas out there than what I can come up with. So, you know, what we want to do is facilitate that.
It's always interesting. I want to switch it a little bit and talk about you as an artist. So what you do is your job at the Peel Museum, but how did you get to this point?
Well, I don't know that I can really own the word artist. I have enormous respect for artists, and I am incredibly attracted to them, which is why I guess I ended up working in art and museums. But I have too much respect for what they do to claim to be their equal. I did, very early on, I did some filmmaking as a student, and so that gave me a lot of respect for the creative process and just, you know, how much work it takes to hone your skills and make it look easy. People don't have any idea.
So is that where curating came in, where you were able to facilitate that?
And, well, my stepmother actually has a contemporary gallery in North Carolina where I'm from, so I grew up around art. And before that was living in an antique store, so I guess that history bug was inculcated then. But I guess I think of myself more as a producer, as someone who enables artists, who helps them find the resources that they need to make their art and to be known.
My first job was as a curator, and I did not know, coming from a performance art aspect, I did not have a clue as to how much work it took to not only just put on a show, but come up with a concept and get people in the door and make it a well-rounded thing for the artists and the community. I had no idea. That was my first real creative job outside of being an actor, of course. And I was like 22, so I didn't have any. I must say I didn't have the respect for it because I thought it was just, I'm just gonna put these pictures up on the wall and get my friends to come down and buy the work. And it's so much more that goes into it. And you get so much. To me, that's an art form in and of itself.
It is. You're absolutely right. And I was just gonna say the best curators are storytellers, right? So there's storytelling through objects and their placement in space, but now more and more, as you say, also through the programming, through the people they engage with, through the voices that they bring in. I was just meeting earlier today with Lynn Parks, who's curating the next exhibition at the Peel. It'll be open in October. It's called Birdland in the Anthropocene, and she's brought together 25 artists who will be filling that building, and they're looking at the impact of the built environment on the natural environment and creative ways that artists have come up with of minimizing that impact. So things as simple as putting a beautiful design created by an artist on your windows, and say if you're in a big glass office building, can help prevent bird deaths by stopping them from flying into those windows. She told me that something like 1 billion birds die in this country every year just from flying into buildings.
I have to say, I have big windows in my front room, and it's happened a couple times.
All right. Well, when you
come
to see the exhibition at the Peel, there's going to be a solution center and artists there to help you look at your home and how you can make it more bird friendly and environmentally friendly in general.
Because we got the rubber spikes, so they didn't stay, because the fecal matter, it could cause you to get sick, and especially if it piles up. And sometimes you can't get out on the ledge to get things, but we started using those, and I didn't think about putting something up at the window to prevent, because I've heard many birds like doink.
And I mean, you should see some of these designs. They're gorgeous, So you're living with art as well as protecting the artists, protecting the birds,
Wow.
So, and I think it's a really interesting exhibition to have at the Peel, precisely because the Peel was in some ways the start of the kind of light that has proven to be so very dangerous to birds, right? So, gaslight, as I was saying, was so powerful compared to candlelight. And, we need to learn how to, as Lynn Parks has put it, we need to learn how to use these powerful tools and technologies we've created to mitigate the impact of those tools and technologies as well. So I think it's a really wonderful creative challenge, and I love that she's inviting artists to help us solve that. It's not just the technologists, it's not just the environmentalists.
It's innovation. It starts with being creative, and that's where it starts at. I do it's kind of art talk once a year with University of Baltimore, and they bring together all these artists and entrepreneurs that come together, and it's think about how we can solve everyday issues, problems, whether it be police brutality or subsequent teen pregnancies, and they come up with the topics, and it's amazing to see artists attack it. I think the last one we went to, we all settled on how to keep people from littering, and coming up with these crazy ideas of creating these trash cans that become interactive and fun,
like making them basketball nets and whatnot,
right?
Or like just something like somebody holding something, like they can just shoot it in there. Like,
One was like the Pac-Man, where when you throw something in there, it actually closes. So this thing, I love watching artists innovate and create problem solving for the community at large.
That's right. Artists are natural innovators and natural entrepreneurs. I mean, every artist I'm sure, has known how to hustle, right? How to work multiple jobs and,
turn them
beg from Peter
dollars.
to pay Paul or whatever it is, you know. And we got a lot to learn from them, and so that's one of the things we want to do is help their knowledge and expertise be more broadly shared.
So that's the artist aspect. How does the community fit into that strategy?
Well, I can see as we go forward, both obviously the storytelling comes from the community, right? So we want to hear from all the voices of Baltimore. There's so many stories and so many voices that really haven't been part of, shall we say, the mainstream cultural discourse. We want to unearth those. And that absolutely starts in the communities with workshops, with capacity building, to make sure that those storytellers have access to the tools and the platforms they need to be heard. But I could also see, as I mentioned, like the Be More Than the Story exhibition, these kinds of initiatives starting in the community. You know, exhibitions even about collecting and local collectors who might be collecting something that you wouldn't necessarily tend to expect to see in a museum, but which help us really think about, well, what is a museum or what is an exhibition these days?
So we're going to take a quick break. We've got to pay some bills here. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show only on BeExposedRadio.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired Radio Show. Now here's one little speech I'm going to give you before I get into the next article. Here's what I want to tell you. Still, fear is big business. Fear is big business. I'm not telling you not to be alarmed by what you're seeing. I'm not telling you not to be concerned. What I'm saying is not to buy into the notion that we should be afraid. You should be informed. You should be aware. You should start educating yourself about some things. I don't have the solutions. I don't have the answer. I wish I could say that if you did X, Y, and Z, you might not get shot by the police. I wish I could tell you that, but I can't. But what I can say is just start making yourself aware of what's going on, but don't be so consumed by what you're seeing that you become afraid, that you don't want to go out. Or you become numb. That's a good point, Nate. Nate said, or you become numb to it, like you just don't care. So we need you to just continue to be in touch with what's going on, but educate your family, talk to your sons, talk to your daughters, because it's not just limited to men. We know from Sandra Bland, she was a young woman who was killed. And we don't want to say, we don't know all the details behind what happened. No, the fact is that person's life still matters. They still have rights. They should not just be killed dead before they even get a trial. Okay, that's the point. They deserve a trial at least, but they can't even make it to the jail cell to get a trial to be tried. They're being killed even before arrest. Terrible. So that's my soapbox.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on Be Exposed Radio.
BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Good night. Close your eyes and just sleep tight. Lie awake and watch to be sure.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Pictures from the old Baltimore. So people were able to, bring pictures that they had.
Of Baltimore, how it used to look then and how it looks now.
And just random pictures that you may have had from a time going by, like how Pennsylvania Avenue has changed. So there were people with pictures, tons of pictures from that era.
I'm happy to talk about NMAC and that kind of thing if you want to.
So we're about to come right back. Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com. Our guest today is, I'm not going to say doctor because she's not mad at me, Nancy Proctor, the new director and first director of the Peel Museum. She's a curator and producer of fine art, just art in general.
And that's amazing
right.
within itself.
Well, and storytelling, and history and architecture and places that are important to people.
Where does your experience lie in those areas? Are you a storyteller? Are you a griot? You just studied that era, or?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think I got the history bug early on, even before I got the art bug. But I've actually been working with digital media for a very long time too. So back in the mid-90s, I started curating exhibitions and creating websites for them, thinking that was a cheaper alternative to printing a catalog. We were all so naive back then. Then what I really wanted to do was document kind of fringe or exhibitions that were happening in alternative art spaces, which were typically done by artists and activists who didn't have the money, again, to have a lot of PR or have catalogs. And I wanted to use digital media to document them because I realized, these shows would be open for maybe a few weeks and then they're gone, and that's kind of it. Now, I have to say my ambition to create virtual tours and really digitally photograph these and kind of make 3D models of these exhibitions, that ambition really exceeded the technology, arguably even of today. It was an idea at least more than 20 years before its time. But we were trying to do it on 14 and 9K dial-up modems, which was, not ideal. But nonetheless, I guess that's probably most accurately my passion, is this idea of preserving both contemporary and historical voices and stories, and make sure that they're not lost in the historical record.
And that was controversial just a few years ago because people felt like that wasn't real art. That wasn't a real display of art, even though you were helping to preserve it. But I think now a lot of people are starting to jump on that because it is cheaper and more people can see your work from around the world, opposed to me having to come to this brick and mortar and being able to see it. And it cuts down on cost a lot.
Well, it can do, or not. But I think what you're pointing to there is the same old power dynamics at work, right? So the people who are in power, who have defined themselves as the canon, as the leading artists, as the leading, collections or museums or whatever, they don't want to give over that position easily, right? And so an easy way to preserve your position of power is to define everything that's not you as inferior.
Right.
We know this runs throughout our society, and I guess, really fundamentally, that's what I'd like to tackle. And I think you tackle that through grassroots initiatives.
So what's not non-traditional is now what the standard is. So what is now starting to be like prehistoric almost, to go to a museum and see art up on the wall. So it has to jump out at somebody because you're trying to get a younger audience to start coming more and more and being able to feel like they're represented there.
That's right. It's got to be relevant. People have to see themselves in what you're offering. And the best way to do that is have them produce it. Right? So if you start with the stories that are important to people and you build a collection or an exhibition around that, or an experience, whatever it may be, you've got relevance and audience baked in. The traditional way that things tend to work in exhibitions and museums is, you start with an expert who has an idea and they gather the objects and then they put on the show, and somewhere along the way some marketing people and education people have probably gotten involved and they're kind of writing some text to get other people to come in the door. It's a kind of a build it and hope they will come model. I'd rather build it with the people and then they're already there.
It's the same concept with, I do this a lot with plays. If you add a child to a play, trust and believe more people are going to come to see it. And it's the same, and not to make it so childish of a connection, but it's the same process. If you want more community involvement, include the community in the building process.
And it also keeps it real. it's got to be authentic. And
Right.
this was what I loved about the play, The King of Howard Street, that you were in, which was, I have to say, just one of the best plays I've seen in ages and ages. And
Thank
the
you.
acting was superb. But, you know, the acting could shine because the script was so good. Why was the
Right.
script so good? Because it was built on the actual words of the actual journals.
Yes, yes. And it wasn't stretched too far. So these bills be piling up here. So we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back right back with Miss Proctor when we return. And I want to hear more about her take on King of Howard Street, because we haven't heard a lot of outside sources tell us about it. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Looking for your next home? Kemp & Associates is a full-service real estate and property management company that's been serving the community for 18 years with due diligence. They have 2 locations and 27 agents to serve the Central Maryland area. Call for your residential needs at 410-580-0606, located at 1328 Ricestown Road, Suite B, and 5248 Ricestown Road, Unit 2. Meet them online at www.baltimorehomesource.org. Kemp & Associates, your home specialist. Don't make a move without us.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show. Now here's one little speech I'm going to give you before I get into the next article. Here's what I want to tell you. Still, fear is big business. Fear is big business. I'm not telling you not to be alarmed by what you're seeing. I'm not telling you not to be concerned. What I am saying is not to buy into the notion that we should be afraid. You should be informed. You should be aware. You should start educating yourself about some things. I don't have the solutions. I don't have the answer. I wish I could say that if you did X, Y, and Z, you might not get shot by the police. I wish I could tell you that, but I can't. But what I can say is just start making yourself aware of what's going on, but don't be so consumed by what you're seeing that you become afraid, that you don't want to go out. Or you become numb. That's a good point, Nate. Nate said,
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Few more segments to go.
That's cool. Great. I got plenty to say.
And anytime you want to come by, and anytime you want to do more interactive artwork, we definitely have this as a platform.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, and when
I don't want you to. So we're back on. Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live, only on BeExposedRadio.com. We got Miss Nancy Proctor, curator, art producer. I just like giving people titles. That's what I do. So you were saying before I interrupted you?
Yeah, well, I think we were going to talk about the King of Howard Street.
King of Howard Street.
And how it was such a great show, I think in large part because it was based on authentic stories, as written by Anthony Williams himself.
Yes.
And, I think the adaptation of those journals into the script was masterfully done. Yeah, she really did. Mm-hmm. And then the actors were able to really shine because you had great text.
It was, and we had a post-mortem. That's our way of kind of summing up our experience, and that's how we realized it went past so fast for us. Like we enjoyed it, but it was such a rush feeling for us that because there was so much that happened at one time. But exactly what you just said, it really spoke to just how authentic and rich a person's story is. This one person, everybody has a story, but if nobody thinks to put it down on paper, nobody thinks to share it in most cases. And when that happens, when that meets art, which was theater, like he had an idea to write down his thoughts. He wanted to see this atmosphere, and he thought about it. You know, those writings came from a specific moment in time. Yeah. It wasn't really over a course of his life. It came from a very specific point. And for him to think that far in advance with his given circumstances, I want to hear more stories from the random individuals in this city, and whether you're from here or not. Like, I just want to. It made me want to hear people's story more.
Yeah, I agree. And there are so many stories of Baltimore, and yet, frankly, both inside the city and beyond, Baltimore tends to be known for a pretty limited range of narratives.
Yes.
And, you know, that's a shame. You know, I think the world is an impoverished place because it doesn't know what a critical role the city played in the founding of this country, and I think continues to play at the real forefront of some of the biggest issues facing this country.
Yes. And King of House Street, for me, did just that. It put human-like qualities, personification, if you will, like human-like qualities on individuals that we don't see, that are just imaginary to the everyday person. I'm not saying Anthony is imaginary, but for us, we choose not to see that because that's something that makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's right.
But we put those types of qualities on his life, and that was between him and Ren and Roz and Evan and all the different technicians and actors that worked on it. That was the best part for me. Like, we really gave him and his life legs and purpose.
And together you all gave the audiences something really important too.
We couldn't feel it in the moment. That was the scary part for me because we were so afraid of how people would take it.
Well, you know, the day that I saw your show,
I think that was closing night.
Closing night, that's right. Earlier that day, I got to participate in Promenade, which was a wonderful kind of mobile theater experience produced by Single Carrot Theater. It ran through the month of June, and it was fantastic because you get on a bus and you go around the city, and there are live actors acting outside the bus on the streets, and they follow you as you move around. But you're hearing a soundtrack that is really edited from interviews with people of the city talking about Baltimore and what is Baltimore.
So when you're going from place to place, you hear that narrative.
That's right.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, it's a 90-minute theater piece. You had 40 hours of interviews, so not everything made it into that.
Right.
But what Single Carrot has done is they've given us the kind of raw interviews, and we're now working with, again, using digital platforms to get those stories out there and geolocated. So now, even though Promenade is gone, you'll be able to walk around the city or drive around the city and hear the stories of the city told in those interviews at the locations, the neighborhoods where they were told. So this is how I think, a really judicious use of new technologies in combination with, the oldest art form there is, which is human storytelling.
Will that be something that you could just simply Google and be able to go to that spot? Or
Yeah, exactly. So what we like to do is put these stories on as many free and open platforms as we can, because the more places we put them, the more audiences they reach. But one of the key platforms we're working with is built on an open source framework called Roundware. And it was created by an artist, not surprisingly, Halsey Burgund. And so we've built an app on top of that that's called Be Here Stories. And so Promenade stories are being put in there now, and it's location aware. So when you're in a particular neighborhood, you'll hear the stories that were recorded there.
Wow. And I think that is necessary, because we're living in a city with so many. Like I said, I do this art talk every year, and they host it at Edgar Allan Poe's at that. It's kind of like a shrine where his grave is, but there's a event hall that they hosted, and right that it sits on top of it. This year was different because the group was so much smaller than what it normally is. We got to actually take a tour of the catacombs, And first of all, I don't do stuff like that. That ain't what I'm not trying to do that. I knew what we were on top of. I was like, but we got to go underneath of it and see the many families that were buried down there and hear the stories. So we went out in and I had no idea all that existed behind that space. Like, it's a whole cemetery in that. I'm thinking it's just that one little grave that's there, but no, there are plenty of families that's buried underneath of it, and the church was actually built on top of it.
Wow, I didn't know that either. Interesting.
And they have tours there, but it was interesting to see that. And now, you know, I go to university to go to my eye doctor, and you walk past that and you don't know all that history. The first insulated coffin. And they show you that, so they put the body in it, and there's a space around it where they would just put ice around it, and that's how they preserved the body at one. Like, it was like, you just hear this history, and you're like, where was this when we was going on field trips? Like, this wasn't a part of the storytelling that we got. We just knew Edgar Allan Poe was buried there,
right?
But nobody ever thought to say, let me look behind this church or underneath this church and see what's there. And people do know that, but the general public doesn't know stuff like that.
Yeah, you make me wonder kind of how could storytelling reinvent education in some ways. I mean, maybe it's not reinvent in that, I don't know, in my experience, the best teachers were always the best storytellers.
Right.
You know, I remember I had a British history teacher, believe it or not, who just kind of sat on a stool at the front of the class. I think I was about 12 years old, and she just told British history like it was a soap opera, which it was, right? You know, full of all sorts of murders and intrigue. And I was just completely captivated. And we can do that today, too,
That's
right?
the best part of it. And that's why I love being an actor, because we get to tell stories like that. And you get to unleash things that people wouldn't know necessarily the whole story of it, or stuff that people know, but you get to really be in the moment of it.
And bring us close to people we would never otherwise. I mean, I would never have otherwise gotten to know Mr. Anthony
This
Williams.
was like probably the second or third play I was ever in where we played actual people, because we thought that these was his characters that he wrote. We had no idea that these people were real. And that, I think a lot of us were messed up doing King of Howard Street, because we were afraid that one of them were going to walk in, because a lot of them could just have walked in.
Did you meet the person you played?
Some of them, like my character is still in the city, but he's not anywhere to be found. A number of the other characters had passed away already. So that was the scary thing. We met some of the subsequent characters that we talked about, like the Flying Africans. We met a number of them, like they're actual people. So you get to meet them, but it's scary because you see these people. These are people that you've seen walking the streets. So that's the storytelling element that I love.
Yeah,
but you get to meet the person, or you get to meet their family.
It's quite a challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
So how will your or how do you plan on not so much making it more interactive, but the storytelling element? How does that fit into, say, the art exhibitions, or will that be the exhibition?
So, you know, when Rembrandt Peale founded the Peale Museum, and this was kind of typical of that day, it showed a little bit of everything. So it was fine art, it was natural history, it was kind of exotic specimens, be they real or kind of fake, spectacles, there were performances, and I actually really like that encyclopedic approach, but the lens, you know, you can't boil the ocean, so the kind of the filter, the lens through which we're going to be kind of deciding what we do in the building and also out in the communities is this idea of history and architecture, or I like to say, you know, Baltimore's stories and places, because history and architecture can sound so academic and dry and kind of unapproachable. But when you think about really what is history but stories, and what is architecture but places that real human beings live in and experience, and that's what we want to capture, is those lived experiences. So those will be kind of our entry points, but frankly, you know, from there you can go pretty much anywhere. So, you know, as I said, we've got Birdland, curated by Lynn Parks, coming up in October. Well, it's about how
Is there something there now?
Yeah, at the moment we don't have an exhibition on. We're actually developing some programs for storytelling through hip-hop songwriting and documentary filmmaking with iRhyme and Channel Me Media. They've kind of partnered as the Media Rhythm Institute. So, you know, looking at lots of different formats, so not just art and exhibitions, but also plays, performances, and you know, storytelling through music or through documentary.
Mm-hmm.
We're interested in partnering with any organizations that are doing that kind of thing, where the stories that are being told are about the city and its places.
Wow, I'm at the introduce the group that I'm working with now, Do More Baltimore, and they definitely, that's their thing, storytelling through hip hop, poetry, and now they've added theater into it. But
fantastic!
I'm excited.
We should talk to them.
Yes,
because again, you know, we've got this relatively big building, and we're keen to have it lively and filled. And so, if there are people who need it now, or you know, certainly after we're renovated, we'd love to hear from them.
So when are renovations slated to be over, or is that still a process?
Completed by 2020, if not before. You know, we're working as fast as we can. A lot of it has to do with fundraising.
Okay.
But I'll have to say, you know, we've had a lot of generous support so far from all sorts of organizations. BG&E has been a big supporter, and Middendorf Foundation. We just recently got a major gift of support from the William G. Baker Memorial Foundation Fund, and they're the ones who really launched the Baker Artist Portfolio that you might know about. So, you know, they're really into supporting creativity around the city. Baltimore National Heritage Area have been wonderful partners, really supporting this storytelling program, and they've given us a grant recently that will help us do micro grants to storytellers to help them tell their stories. So we got a lot of different things kind of cooking, and yeah, just looking for more people to collaborate with, really, because I think.
So what are some of those individuals that you may want to collaborate? Because I said you just said you have another with the Knicks exhibit coming up. That's a curator that you're partnering with. So. How did you...
So after that, we'll actually be hosting Subversive Productions theater piece, which was at the Peel earlier this year, and it was sold out the whole time, and it was so successful. We've asked them to come back, so they're going to come back in November, and it's the grand opening. It's an immersive theater piece. Okay, so again, I think it's kind of theater for the 21st century because the audience is participating. They're kind of actors as part of the show. And what you're doing,
some of the pressure off.
Well, I mean, it also means the actual cast have to be really good at improv because they've got to interact with these people off the street, literally, who knows what they're going to do. But when you attend that production, you're essentially coming into the grand opening of H.T. Darling's museum. Now, Mr. H.T. Darling is a kind of a steampunk meets Victorian anti-hero who has managed to stumble into a parallel universe by traveling at the speed of thought. And he's found a new planet called New Galapagos. New to him, I should say, and he's basically plundered it. He's rendered a couple of species extinct, but he's brought all of these specimens back, and he's set up his own museum, and you are attending as one of the patrons and benefactors of the museum.
I want to be there. Call me first day.
It is so awesome. I saw it 4 times. I could see it 4 times.
In my mind, I'm just seeing all this stuff.
Because what's so cool about immersive theater is every time you go, it's new. It's different, right? There's a different cast, different. You discover different parts of the story, and the story unfolds throughout the entire building. And it's very largely inspired by the history of the Peel, which, you know, as I said, is the very first museum ever built in this country. So it goes right back to fundamental questions. What is a museum? What is the ethics of curation and collecting? You know, what happens if you steal specimens and render a species extinct? You know, like, what is the responsibility of the collector or of the curator to the people that are affected by their work?
That is, you got me. I'm there.
All right.
We're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com. Don't forget, coming up next, It Is What It Is Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com. Don't go anywhere.
Check out this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show on BeExposedRadio.com.
How did you know that this is what you wanted to do as far as being a singer or entertainer?
It's always been in me. It's always been a part of who I am since a child. Since a child, I've always gotten karaoke boxes, and I've always learned this song and solos in school and all of those things. And I met my Reflections actually in high school, and we were singing and we were singing back then, choral music.
Douglas High School.
Yes, quack, come on through here. So
2 G's in a day pass.
Okay, 2 G's in a bus pass, baby. It used to be, of course. It was destined. I feel like it was destined. My whole family sings. Everyone in my circle sings. It's like I just couldn't get away from it. I'm always gonna sing.
Where did your personality come from? Are you always this crazy?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Right?
I woke up like this.
Okay.
And went to sleep like it too.
Literally. The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Saturday 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com.
We're rewarding you for something you already do, listening to us. It's radio loyalty, and it's an easy way for you to get free stuff. All you do is sign up. Go ahead and click the banner now. You'll earn points as you listen. Points you can trade in for great products and services in the Radio Loyalty store. You can earn even more points when you share your favorite station with friends on Facebook and Twitter. Radio Loyalty. It's free to sign up, so click the banner to join now.
Hey everybody, this is your girl, the one and only Thick Cows. Check us out every Saturday from 5 to 7, only on BeExposedRadio.com.
Oh, recently?
Yeah.
I was talking about overall. No, two.
That was Uber.
That wasn't Uber.
Yeah.
That wasn't?
Yeah, that was Uber.
That situation with Uber, I think you told us about.
But this guy...
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Are we back? Hi, we're back at the Artist Exchange Radio. This is your co-host, Hullywood. We have here special guest, Nancy Proctor. I'm sorry, Miss Nancy Proctor.
Well, if you're going to go that far, then you can tack the doctor back on.
I'm sorry. Dr. Nancy Proctor. But yes, it's just some amazing things that's going on, and I've been sitting here listening. I really haven't said much, but like what you're saying as far as Baltimore, and actually as far as the history and everything, I'm loving it, every bit of it, because a lot of people are from Baltimore and really don't know the history of Baltimore.
Yeah, and I'm very new to Baltimore myself. I came here because Doreen Bolger asked me to come and set up the first digital division at the Baltimore Museum of Art when she was director there. I fell in love with the city because of the architecture, to be honest. There's just so many incredible buildings around here, and then I stayed because of the people. Yes. And because of those stories and their history. So there's no shortage of stories to tell, but I'm also really interested in telling them in ways other than kind of through speech and what we tend to think of as storytelling. Like what about telling the story of Baltimore through music? I mean, this has also been a place where so much important music and musicians have been born, and actually the Peel has, I have been told by a composer and a musician, so this isn't just my opinion, that the Peel has the best acoustic space in Baltimore. One of the galleries on the 3rd floor is just incredible, and I'd love to have musicians and groups come and perform there.
Also, I definitely know like a couple of musicians, and they also about shaping Baltimore. Like I know Naomi B. She's actually she talks about she sings about like human trafficking, because there's so much that goes on, and a lot of that's not like a lot of people that don't see what's going on. She's bringing it to the forefront. Also, I have a friend. Her name is Rochelle. Rochelle. And she's also singing. She's also talking about like how some people don't have like self-confidence, and it's a song called "You're Beautiful," and she talks about just how like look past everything, look within ourselves, because each one of us are beautiful in our own way. So they all actually looking towards shaping Baltimore.
Oh, that's great. Well, look, please give them our contact info.
I definitely
come
will.
by and check us out. And On August 14th, we'll be having kind of an open house because, as I said, it's Founders Day. It's the day in 1814 that the Peel Museum's doors were first opened, and looking to kind of build in some other times, including Open Doors Baltimore, which is at the end of October when people can come and see the building. But we're also happy to take folks around whenever.
Okay,
that's awesome. Once again, let us know where we can find you on social media, how we can contact if people are looking for that space rental, or how they can donate, so on and so forth.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so Twitter and Facebook handles are The Peel, so at The Peel, or facebook.com/The Peel. On Instagram, you can find us under the name of Rembrandt Peel. Okay. So that's spelled in this kind of Dutch way. So I hope I get this right. REMBRANDT. Peel, Peale.
Because that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, there's a D before that T in Rembrandt. That's always tricky. Yeah, especially if you're like me, taught to read phonetically, which is a crazy idea if you're an English speaker. But anyway, my personal Twitter handle is at Nancy Proctor. That's NancyProctor. You can find the website at thepeelcenter.org. And there's more contact info there. But a really good way to reach me and the Peel is through Twitter. I think that's...
So in terms of possible partnerships, individuals that may have a great idea for an exhibition, what would they need to do in order to...
Reach out to me and just know that kind of what we're looking for is initiatives, be they exhibitions, programs, or something we've never thought of before. We're very open to new formats too. I'd like to see them start in the communities of Baltimore with the authentic stories of those communities and really grow from there. So, again, like the Birdland exhibition coming up is doing programming out in the community. We're going to be collaborating with Submersive Productions on similar kinds of things around their upcoming show. So we're always trying to, yes, do great things in that building because it's such a wonderful space, but also be constantly thinking beyond the walls and also thinking about using online platforms. There are plenty, as you pointed out right at the beginning, there are plenty of artists now whose works are born digital. And whose audiences are online, and I think that's a great way to interact globally.
So at Peel Museum, you're trying to create that balance where people can still have natural and routine and what they're used to from an art exhibit, while still blowing their mind in ways where it's more interactive, it's more sociable.
Yeah.
Artistic.
Yeah, it's funny. You remind me that I've always thought when you're trying to be an activist of any sort, you kind of have to do two things that may seem contradictory and mutually exclusive, but you have to do them both at once. So, like, if you're an art historian, say, and you're looking for a more inclusive art history, you got to say, on the one hand, why does the canon not include, women artists, artists of color, artists with disabilities? Why are these people left out? You should put them in. But at the same time, you also have to say, hey, the whole idea of a canon is bankrupt, right? Because it's exactly a manifestation of that power structure that keeps certain people in power.
Right.
So, in a sense, we got to do two things. We got to be the go-to place. When you come to Baltimore, you want to know what Baltimore is about, or the mayor, or some companies trying to bring in investors. We'd love for the Peel to be the place that they come to see the real Baltimore. When they can only come to one place. But at the same time, we've got to explode that idea that a museum is just a destination, that it's all about getting traffic in the door. Because in the 21st century, the museum needs to be where the people are. It needs to be distributed, it needs to be pervasive, it needs to be on every platform, in every home, in every hand that wants to access it at the moment that they want to. So we got to think well beyond that building as well.
And it's very important that people remember that, because a museum should open your mind up so you go home and start researching more or start looking into something more and not feeling like that's where everything is. And for so long, that's what art was, plays, theater, all those things. We felt like that's where it was, and that's the only place we could get it. But it's like a library. Like, that's just where you get a taste of it.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to go out and just research the origins of it and the foundations of it and where it's actually going to.
And now, of course, libraries, and I think Enoch Pratt's a great example, have really been leading the way and kind of thinking beyond we're a room full of books, right? And we need to kind of continue that.
Yeah. Because now they're offering, like, you can get a tablet there, you can get a laptop, and not just sit on a computer or not just go read a book. But they have so many different options because we're learning. People have different learning styles, and everybody gets it a little bit different from the last, from the next. So we got to give people, even as artists, we got to give people options so they can hold on to things.
Yeah, and I always say that a great museum should leave you with maybe more, a great exhibition, a great museum should leave you with more questions than it answers. And there's actually another kind of curatorial practice that I learned about. I used to head up mobile strategy at the Smithsonian, and I worked with a wonderful team there called Museum on Main Street. They're part of the Smithsonian Traveling Exhibition Services. And they have been doing this cool thing, even before the internet was really a thing, of building exhibitions that are kind of like franchise models. They're sort of like templates. So they're on a theme that the Smithsonian, knows a lot about, but they're not considered complete until the community that exhibition visits completes it. So it might be on work, the way we work. And so each community adds artifacts, stories, photographs about what work means in their community. So if it's a seaside community, it might be fishing and shipping. If it's an agricultural community, it might be farming or whatever. And in the same breath almost, the Smithsonian's showing that community doing capacity building on how they can collect and value and preserve and transmit their cultural heritage to future generations. So even once the exhibition has left town, there's that lasting legacy, that practice of valuing and preserving and passing on your culture in the community. And that's the kind of working method that I'd really like to see the Peel adopt. That, sure, come to the Peel, have a wonderful experience, seeing a fantastic exhibition, but take something away with you that lasts even beyond, when you've forgotten even that you went to the Peel. It's kind of become so much part of you, and it's transformed how you interact with the world.
Something that stains your memory, that stains your heart.
Exactly, yeah.
That for me was the Abigail DeVille's, the flag. Like, that's in my mind forever because how the papers were supposed to come down and drop, and it just was, that stuck in my mind, and that made that museum memorable for me. Now, this is a question that I ask all my guests, and it will give us more insight about Miss Proctor personally. But what advice would you give to your 17-year-old self?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I was 17 when I graduated from high school, and I started, kind of really having to fend for myself in the world and figure out how I was going to pay for college and stuff. I think the one thing I would say is the job that you're going to do 10, 20, 30 years from now doesn't yet exist. It hasn't been invented yet. So the most important thing you need to know is how to learn and how to adapt to the changing employment landscape, new technologies, things that are going to really impact the way everybody lives. That's one thing. I would also tell that person, you know what? Chances are most, if not all, of the jobs you get, you're going to get through people you know, or because somebody you know tips you off to it. So that network, that personal social network is critical. And I think...
Get out there.
Get out there. But, that also really speaks to, that's double-edged, right? Because you can easily remain trapped in a certain circle. And I don't have any easy solutions for that. I think all of us, despite our best intentions, tend to kind of remain in communities that look like us, that have the same educational, economic background and advantages. It's hard to break out of.
It feels safe. It definitely feels safe. It feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And you know that you're doing yourself a disservice, but it's just comfortable.
Yeah. So, you know what? You make me think of another piece of advice I'd give, which is, let me see. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the gentleman's name, but a wonderful man in Baltimore who actually spoke as part of the Promenade exhibition, and I'll find the name and we can add it online later because I want to give credit where credit is due. But he said, if it's not uncomfortable, you're probably not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that thing about always pushing your boundaries.
Mm-hmm. That's something as an actor. That was one of the first lessons. If it's not uncomfortable, it's not real to the observer.
Wow.
You don't feel like they don't feel connected to it. If it's not making you, if it's too easy, then you really not. Your verb is not being achieved in that moment. So really go deeper than what is comfortable. And we're so used to being comfortable as artists and staying in our little box. But get out, speak to somebody, say something. You'll learn so much more in the long term from doing that. So we're going to take our last break, and we're going to say goodbye to Miss Proctor. It's been awesome having you here.
Thank you so much.
You're right down the street. Come on out.
I know. We're like neighbors. So this has been a huge honor, and thank you also for your magnificent performance in The King of Howard Street. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and to get to know Miss Kara, who's been producing all this in the background. So I look forward to staying in touch. Please come see us.
Anytime. We'll be there on the 14th of August, right?
14th of August, yes, sir.
We'll be there.
All right.
So we're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show only on BeExposedRadio.com. Don't go anywhere.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show.
I'm just thankful this year I've dealt with, you know, some growing pains, and I've overcome some things, and I've also, you know, accomplished some things in the process. I've learned some things. Like I've learned that, I learned that everybody loves your work until they got to pay for it. That's what I learned. That's what I learned. I learned everybody loves what you do.
About the pay?
I mean,
not always.
Listen, the Bible says money answereth all things.
Well,
okay, and there is a place. There is a place where finances is necessary. And when you got kids and when you got a wife and then you doing everything and you know you top dog at what you do, especially when you weren't in the same place you, like with this radio show, you ain't in the same place you were a year ago. Should nobody be coming on the show and not donating to your show?
Can you say that on my show?
Should nobody be coming to your show?
Can you say that in the middle of the live?
Make that a promo, please.
Should nobody come on this show without donating? That is a nice commercial. I don't care if it's $20.
Donate.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
Free stuff for you just for listening to this station. Yeah, we got your attention? Here's how it works. You click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for cool stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple. Free stuff just for doing what you already do. Radio Loyalty.
You are
click the banner to join now.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com, the home of Talk Lately with Monty, every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Free stuff for you just for listening to this station. Yeah, we got your attention? Here's how it works. You click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for cool stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple. Free stuff just for doing what you already do. Radio Loyalty. Click the banner to join now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Monty from Talk Lately. I want y'all to sit back and listen to this flashback. We be tripping.
I mean, really, but I mean, he might have. I got him maybe jacking her up.
The kids said he did it.
But this is Floyd Mayweather punching her head repeatedly, and like she doesn't have like brain damage.
No, she didn't have brain damage. I don't think he was hitting her like that. Or he probably was like, say something else. Say something else.
That.
He probably wasn't like tagging her.
Right.
He probably was just like, And the kids is like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy.
Why do they have that accent? Why? Why do his kids have that accent?
I just pictured them looking like African. Oh. I didn't want to have to admit that. I don't know what they're going to do about my mouth, but just check out the show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's more of the same.
Right from the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
So you're your biggest asset. Mm-hmm. You have to practice self-care. Every entrepreneur has to practice self-care. You have to release yourself from toxic situations.
Explain to us real quick, what is a toxic situation?
A toxic situation is something that will control your mind, something that hurts you, something that you have to battle, toxic, hurt. If you're in a toxic situation, if you get hurt, if you get pain, if you get struggle, right? Mm-hmm. And if your spirit does not align correctly, that may be a toxic situation. So when I say you make that jump when your values don't align, you make decisions based on your values. And if those decisions don't align with your values, then that's when you say no.
Tune into the Artist Exchange every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. live. Big Exposed Radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Check out this flashback from the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
That's the biggest thing, is just empowerment. Just get off of the begging line. Just be proud and just get our pride and our dignity back, because as a child, we're taught how to go and beg for a job. Our parents, they literally taught us how to make sure you pull your pants up. Me, I'm 6'7", so I'm a bigger man. I was always taught how to not be threatening or intimidate people when I go into different interviews or different scenarios. And so we're literally taught how to condition ourselves, condition our speech, everything, in order to go and beg these people for a job, because we know when we walk in the door, I have to tear down 10 stereotypes before I get past hello. So we need to eliminate that. And we need to eliminate that, and the way that we do that is employing ourselves and employing our brothers and sisters. And so that's our mission, is group economics, uplift ourselves, because I can't empower anyone until I empower myself, and change from just being willing, because it's in my heart and my passion to see my people succeed and see us do better and change the social order, because I know that we are not supposed to be on bottom. I understand who I was. I know I didn't fall out of the sky and land on a plantation. So when you have knowledge of self and you know who you are and what you come from, it's frustrating more than anything to see us in this position.
Tune into the Artist Exchange every Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. live. Big Exposed Radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
And we have a full house tonight. My co-host Leslie Swirl and Miss Lasha G, y'all already know.
Hey.
Tony Bling, y'all already know. But I have with me Mr. Paul Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
And my brother, Mr. Kevin Little here.
Well, all right.
So I'm quite sure this is going to be a hot topic. I'm very excited about today's show. And I'm also excited because for the first time, the men outnumber the women.
That is true. Wow, I didn't even notice that.
Finally. Because that took some... This is the first time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was like, wait a minute, maybe I messed up. Finally, the men outnumber the women. And I really wanted that. More so for all of the shows for the month, but definitely for this show. And then we got our producer and our engineer, so we got a lot of in here today. We might gotta pull it up, but that's all right because we strong. We strong
with a C.
With a strong. Yes.
Strong.
I mean, how you pronounce it?
Strong.
There you go. So last week's topic was media, our fathers in mainstream media and their disappearing act, basically, or the minimizing of our fathers in mainstream media. And I'm not sure if we ever got the resolution was in order to really fix that, we need our own, support our own.
Pretty much.
That's basically how we sum that up. But this week we are talking about our fathers, continuing our conversation with our fathers, and the subject for these next 2 weeks topic is taking fathers. And this first part is called A Father's Tale. And I named it that because this is long. I actually changed the way that tale was spelled on this paper, and I didn't say it.
Oh, I see that.
Obviously. But I wanted to do it this way because I wanted to give the fathers an opportunity to speak their position, to speak their mind on the matter. We have in this room some fathers who, for different reasons, were not in the home with their children, be it work, be it other obligations, be it jail, be it the army. I mean, there's a host of different reasons why our fathers are not home. And the one reason that we always see this more than anything, is the fact that our fathers are in jail. And this is where this piece actually started from, which we'll read later. I wrote this piece, and it is actually called Taking Fathers
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, check out what you missed on the one and only Be Inspired radio show.
I'm just thankful this year I've dealt with some growing pains, and I've overcome some things, and I've also accomplished some things in the process. I've learned some things. I learned that everybody loves your work until they got to pay for it. That's what I learned. That's what I learned. I learned everybody loves what you do.
Is it really about the pay?
I mean,
not always.
Listen, the Bible says money answereth all things.
Well,
okay, and there is a place. There is a place where finances is necessary. And when you got kids and when you got a wife and then you doing everything and you know you top dog at what you do, especially when you weren't in the same place you, like with this radio show, you ain't in the same place you were a year ago. Should nobody be coming on the show and not donating to your show?
Can you say that on my show?
Should nobody be coming to your show?
Can you say that in the middle of the live?
Yeah, make that a promo, please.
Should nobody come on this show without donating?
That is a nice commercial.
I don't care if it's $20.
Donate.
Tune in to Be Inspired every Wednesday live at 7 p.m. right here on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back. We were just doing some artsy-fartsy stuff. Realized we were on some app somewhere in the Ethernet. But this is me, your host, Nate, here with Hullywood.
Yeah, how y'all doing out there?
And I just want to, I talked briefly in the beginning of the show about our trip this weekend, but let people know what it was. I know it was a little, concert tour, but give me your highlights and all that.
Actually, it was pretty dope, it was a good thing first, we saw Life Jennings, but just the process there, you know what I'm saying? The process there, going there and actually just seeing like everybody that actually did show up and what he's actually doing. I like the fact that he's trying to give other artists a chance or a platform to actually be heard. So he had a artist that came in from Jacksonville, Florida, and he had two young ladies that came in from New York, and they performed, and it was outstanding. He's actually, I keep saying actually a lot.
actually.
Oh, actually, sir. But it was just a great experience, and just the things he was talking about, and he was hitting on a good couple of topics.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you joining me. I shouted out Dumarasi and Miss Richburg definitely for extending that invitation to the show and giving us that atmosphere. But just real quick, I'm trying to shout out some of the people. David Anthony is listening. Jana, good job, Nate. I'm proud of you, friend. Well, I'm proud of you too, friend. That's my best friend, Jana. Love King Troy. Okay, I got some family watching today.
Okay.
Miss Green King, hi there. Hey, what's going on? So happy that people are actually tuning in and really taking part in the Artist Exchange. Don't forget tomorrow.
Chris L. Brown.
I couldn't
Chris Brown. Hey, man, I see you tuning in. Yeah, all the way from
Chris Brown.
San Francisco. That's
all right. But definitely stay locked in. Tomorrow we have, like I said, a double whammy of a show. We have the first hour will be TJ Transvision, and he's bringing in a couple artists. Go to our page and you'll be able to check out their information, who they are. Also, the second hour we'll have Miss Sharon Nixon, Baltimore's own Baltimore Fashion Week. That's coming up very soon. Next month, we'll hear more information from her and be able to really capture the essence of fashion and merchandising and display and all those different business aspects of the whole gamut, the artistry side, the business side, all of that. And we have two phenomenal individuals, Tamil Robinson from New York, and we have Sharon Nixon, Baltimore's own lady of the hour. So definitely stay tuned for that awesome show. Packed full, and we'll have a guest host tomorrow, Miss Zakia. You met her last week if you tuned into that show. Remember, if you catch us late, definitely know you can tune in anytime. Go to our page, the Artist Exchange Radio Show, and tune in and really listen to us. We're here. We're ready to do whatever.
We have a message for everybody, you know?
Right.
So definitely tune in.
So your last minute thoughts, sir?
What a day, what a day.
How was your holiday?
Holidays was filmed pretty much during the holidays. I really didn't do much for nothing, just front the camera and behind it, man. Grinding through the holidays.
Let me tell you, Mr. Hullywood, he tried to upstage me, and he tried to be real cool moding on our trip. And he thought that I was a slouch. He assumed that I was a slouch. But every now and again, I got to just throw it out to people and let people know Nathan been doing this for a minute.
He has.
He got this. He know how to do this. And looks so good at it.
Smoot. He had all the ladies all over. They was like,
this,
"Oh, I want to take a picture with him."
That didn't count. Those ladies didn't count. I wouldn't count them.
Oh man,
really
you sit there. He had the whole African jewelry on.
I'm just saying. I mean,
he was sitting back with the open toe Moses slippers.
I'm just saying. Sometimes
jean jacket, fresh white. You know,
right. You gotta give it to him. Sometimes
they were looking like, "Tag Nate. Don't leave, Nate. Don't go nowhere. Come here."
I'm just saying. Sometimes
you rub his head, whatnot. Like, ooh, I like him.
See, it's just a little something that you give people sometimes. Nothing too major, you know.
Oh man.
So that was an awesome weekend. We have a number of shows coming up, some awesome individuals coming up, but definitely stay tuned, stay locked in. Oh, real quick, next Friday, the institute that I'm working with, the Maya Baraka Writing Institute, we're having an open mic up at the Old Lamel school. So definitely come on by. You can get on the mic if you got a poem, a monologue, a dance, a song on your heart. Come join these young people. When I say these are some of the most talented individuals that I've met in a long time, it is very rewarding to be in a program where the young people want to be there. Where they want to be there. And not all of them will be artists, but they all have an energy about themselves. And I was going on my little tangent earlier about young people not being prepared for the world and being put out in the world and not knowing how to do conflict resolution, not being able to learn how to take criticism, constructive criticism, not being able to learn. They don't know how to engage with other people.
Right.
We've been so protective over the last decade that we don't let our children do anything, or we let them do everything.
Right.
You know, and there's no balance in between that. And we really have to give our children more opportunity, more preparation in terms of being better artists, being better individuals, being better people in general.
Being better people.
Yeah, just be better, but they have to know better to do better.
And have to want it too.
Right. And we have to stop not allowing people to be more involved in raising our children. So definitely teach your children how to be more engaging. Teach your children how to be more respectful. Teach your children how to take criticism, constructive criticism. Teach your children how to just be in a room with other people.
Right, and don't let the streets raise your children.
Don't let them raise your children. Don't let the TV and games and stuff like that.
Somebody.
But this has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 p.m. sharp. Don't go anywhere. Tomorrow's going to be a really hot show. I'm just saying. I'm not just saying because this is the best radio show ever. I'm just saying it's the best radio show ever. So definitely stay tuned, stay locked in. Go to our page, subscribe, like, share it with all your friends, your Uncle Buck, your Aunt Susie, all of them.
Even your cats if they're online.
Right. I don't really want a lot of cats watching because I think cats are creepy.
Or dogs.
Or dogs. But definitely stay tuned, stay locked in. This has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show only on BeExposedRadio.com.
Message.
Out of control.
Thank you for tuning in to BeExposedRadio.com. Sit back, relax, and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
This is the reality
of
the world that we're living in. A lot of young people don't have the information that is necessary to have healthy lives. And a lot of the organizations that are geared towards young people don't have individuals that are going to be as honest as this gentleman.
One of the issues that I have with this quote unquote Christian nation that we live in is that
not just the Christians,
religion allows you to live in denial, but the world does not live in denial. So who are you helping with your? All right, I'm gonna stop. I'm about to do something.
The reason I shrink that or take that away because it's people who are not religious. It's people who they're not giving their young people, or they don't have a person that could be that honest with them. I mean, we all have that. I know I had a mother like that.
There are.
Rather than
and it's just and it's been recently because I've recently had more interaction with teen mothers than I have in my whole life. I wasn't my mother wasn't a teen mother. Her mother was. She made sure none of her daughters were. So it was, and as I get older and working in certain areas, you tend to run into that. And